What if everything we think we know about history is just a fraction of the story, scattered across the globe, buried beneath layers of time and dust, lie ancient ruins that whisper secrets no modern scientist or historian can fully explain? These aren't just crumbling stones or forgotten monuments, they're puzzles left behind by civilizations long gone, challenges etched into the very fabric of our past. Some of these enigmas defy the laws of physics, others hint at knowledge so advanced it rivals our own, and today we're about to uncover 25 of the most baffling, spine-tingling mysteries hidden within these ancient sites, each one a question mark carved into history itself. Picture standing in the shadow of a megalithic structure so precise, so unimaginably heavy, that even today's engineers struggle to replicate it, or staring at intricate carvings that seem to depict technology far beyond its time: airplanes, electricity, even celestial maps pointing to stars we've only recently discovered. These aren't the stuff of fantasy, they're real, they exist, and they force us to ask, did ancient civilizations possess knowledge we've since lost? Were they guided by forces or beings we don't yet understand? Or is there something even more extraordinary lurking in the gaps of our collective memory? This journey isn't just about curiosity, it's about rewriting what we thought was possible. From the eerie acoustic perfection of chambers that shouldn't exist mathematically, to artifacts so out of place they've been called impossible fossils, these phenomena don't just challenge history, they dare us to rethink humanity's entire timeline. So buckle up, because by the time we're done, you won't look at the ancient world the same way again. The ruins are speaking, it's time we listened. At the bottom of the Aegean Sea, encrusted in the remains of a 2,000-year-old shipwreck, lay an object so baffling it would rewrite our understanding of ancient technology. When divers first pulled the Antikythera Mechanism from the depths in 1901, they assumed it was just another artifact until the corroded bronze fragments revealed something extraordinary. Beneath the layers of time and decay were intricate interlocking gears, precisely cut dials, and inscriptions that pointed to a machine capable of predicting celestial events with stunning accuracy. This wasn't just a relic, it was a 2,000-year-old computer. The mechanism's complexity is staggering even by modern standards. Tiny gear teeth, some just a millimeter wide, calculated the positions of the sun, moon, and planets, predicting eclipses down to the hour. It even accounted for the irregular orbit of the moon, a feature modern astronomy didn't grasp until the 17th century. How could the ancient Greeks, with no known industrial tools, craft something so advanced? Some researchers believe it was the work of geniuses like Archimedes or his disciples, legends who reportedly built mechanical wonders lost to history. Others speculate it was part of a larger tradition of celestial technology, most of which simply didn't survive the ravages of time. But the biggest mystery isn't just how it was made, it's why. Was this a navigational aid for sailors, guiding them by the stars, a philosopher's teaching tool unlocking the secrets of the cosmos, or something more ceremonial, perhaps used in rituals to align human events with celestial cycles? Every theory raises new questions, and perhaps the most haunting possibility of all: if this one device survived, how many others like it have vanished, leaving no trace of the knowledge they once held? The Antikythera Mechanism doesn't just defy expectations, it whispers of a forgotten chapter where science and myth might have been one and the same. The discovery of the Antikythera Mechanism didn't just add another artifact to the historical record, it shattered long-held assumptions about the technological limits of the ancient world. For decades, historians believed complex geared devices didn't emerge until the Renaissance, over 1,000 years later. Yet here was proof that the Greeks had achieved a level of precision engineering rivaling 18th century clockmakers. This single artifact forced scholars to reconsider an entire era, revealing a sophistication we never credited to antiquity. modern scientists have spent decades trying to reconstruct how the mechanism worked, using cutting-edge tools like X-ray tomography and 3D modeling to peer inside its corroded layers. What they've uncovered is even more astonishing than imagined. The device wasn't just a calculator, it was a multi-functional masterpiece with gear ratios so exact they mirrored the irregular motions of celestial bodies. Teams of engineers and historians have attempted to build replicas, only to find the original's craftsmanship nearly impossible to replicate without modern machining tools. Some gears fit together with tolerances of less than a millimeter, a feat that would challenge even today's manufacturers. But perhaps the most profound impact of the Antikythera mechanism lies in the questions it raises about lost knowledge. If this device survived by sheer chance, what other breakthroughs vanished when libraries like Alexandria burned? Ancient texts mention mechanical wonders, automated theaters, hydraulic organs, even robotic servants, all attributed to inventors like Archimedes and Hero of Alexandria. Were these just legends or glimpses of a technological lineage erased by time? The mechanism suggests an alternate history where science and engineering flourished in ways we're only beginning to grasp. Today, the device has become a symbol of ancient innovation, inspiring everything from museum exhibits to space research. Astronomers study its eclipse predictions for clues about historical celestial events, while engineers admire its compact complexity, a precursor to modern analog computers. It stands as a humbling reminder our ancestors weren't primitive. They were problem solvers, pioneers who stared at the same stars and dared to build machines to decode them. And somewhere, buried in the earth or lost to the sea, there may still be other Antikythera mechanisms waiting to rewrite history once more. Hidden away in a vault at Yale University lies a book so perplexing that it has defied every attempt at translation for over 500 years. The Voynich Manuscript, named after the Polish book dealer who rediscovered it in 1912, is unlike any other document from the medieval world. Its 240 vellum pages are filled with looping, alien-looking script, a language with no known alphabet accompanied by illustrations of plants that don't exist, astrological diagrams with no clear meaning, and nude women bathing in bizarre green tubes. Even the most brilliant codebreakers, including those who cracked Nazi ciphers during World War II, have surrendered to its mysteries. Carbon dating places the manuscript's creation between 1400 and 1438, likely in northern Italy. But its origins only deepen the puzzle. Some believe it was the work of a secretive alchemist, encoding forbidden knowledge in symbols to avoid persecution. Others argue it's an elaborate hoax, though the consistency of its script across centuries suggests genuine linguistic structure. More fringe theories propose everything from extraterrestrial communication to a lost civilization scientific treatise. The manuscript's diagrams of celestial bodies are eerily accurate, yet the plants depicted match no known species, leading some to wonder if they're botanical drawings from another world. Modern technology has only added to the enigma. AI analysis in 2018 revealed patterns characteristic of a real language, not random gibberish, yet every attempted decryption hits a dead end. The text follows linguistic rules, with word repetitions and sentence structures that mimic natural speech, but the meaning remains locked away. Even the manuscript's illustrations defy logic. Intricate networks of pipes and vessels resembling microscopic cells or futuristic machinery, painted centuries before such concepts existed. Perhaps the most haunting possibility is that the Voynich manuscript was never meant to be decoded. Some scholars suggest it was a sacred object, its very indecipherability part of its power, a medieval thought experiment meant to provoke wonder rather than convey information. But until someone cracks its code, if a code even exists, the book remains history's most tantalizing riddle, a relic that mocks our assumptions, daring us to admit that some secrets might stay buried forever. One of the most unsettling features of the Voynich Manuscript isn't its unreadable text, it's the grotesquely beautiful plants that sprawl across its pages. These aren't the herbs and flowers you'd find in a medieval herbal. Twisting roots resemble arteries, petals curl like grasping fingers, and stems bulge with unnatural nodules. Some specimens seem to merge with the human body, their tendrils snaking around the limbs of the nude women depicted in the manuscript's so-called biological section. Are these illustrations botanical observations gone horribly wrong, secret alchemical formulas disguised as flora, or something far stranger? Botanists have spent decades trying to match the plants to real species with no success. The manuscript's sunflower, for example, appears a full century before Europeans documented the actual flower's existence, yet its freakishly elongated stem and geometric petals bear no resemblance to the real thing. Other illustrations show hybrid plants with bulbous, tumor-like growths or roots that split into humanoid figures. Some theories suggest these aren't plants at all, but coded representations of chemical processes. Alchemists often used plant imagery to symbolize distillation or purification, and the manuscript's green bathing pools could depict liquid solutions in laboratory vessels. Then there are the human figures, pale, disproportionately large women submerged in those emerald green tubes, connected by intricate networks of pipes and veins. Their poses are eerily modern, some floating weightlessly as if in zero gravity, others intertwined with root-like structures. Are these fertility rituals, medical experiments, early depictions of genetic manipulation? The tubular networks bear an uncanny resemblance to both medieval aqueduct designs and, unsettlingly, contemporary diagrams of human capillaries, a detail impossible for the era's scientific knowledge. The more you study these illustrations, the more they defy categorization. Unlike other medieval texts which borrowed heavily from earlier works, the Voynich's art is wholly original. No precursor or copy has ever been found. Even the colors are bizarre. That vivid green, derived from crushed malachite, appears nowhere else in 15th century manuscripts with such intensity. It's as if the artist was painting not from life, but from dreams or memories of a biology we don't yet recognize. Whether it's a hoax, a cipher, or a relic of lost knowledge, one thing is certain: the Voynich manuscript doesn't just resist interpretation. It actively warps reality around it, leaving us to wonder if we're staring at a madman's sketchbook, or a window into a world where the rules of nature were never the same to begin with. Stretching across nearly 200 square miles of Peru's bone-dry Nazca Desert, a series of colossal drawings etched into the earth defy logic and time. The Nazca Lines' massive geoglyphs, some stretching over 1,200 feet long, aren't just simple shapes. They form intricate designs of spiders, hummingbirds, monkeys, and even a humanoid figure nicknamed the astronaut, all perfectly proportioned despite being nearly invisible from ground level. These aren't shallow scratches. The desert's dark surface layer was meticulously peeled away to reveal lighter soil beneath, creating lines so precise they've survived for 2,000 years without fading. But here's the real mystery: how did the Nazca culture, without flight or advanced tools, design artworks meant to be seen only from the sky? Theories about their purpose read like a menu of the ancient world's greatest mysteries. Some archaeologists believe they were ritual pathways, walked during ceremonies to invoke rain precious in one of Earth's driest regions. Others argue they're an astronomical calendar, with certain lines aligning perfectly with solstice sunrises or constellations as they appeared 2 millennia ago. Then there's the fringe idea: were they meant for celestial beings? The astronaut glyph, with its bulbous head and wide eyes, fuels speculation about otherworldly contact, though mainstream scholars dismiss this as imaginative projection. More plausible is their function as a sacred map, blending cosmology and hydrology. Many lines trace underground water channels the Nazca relied on for survival. What's truly staggering is the engineering behind them. Without drones or hot air balloons, the Nazca achieved near-perfect symmetry across vast distances. Researchers discovered they likely used simple wooden stakes and ropes to plot designs at a smaller scale, then scaled them up proportionally, a technique still used by modern surveyors. But even this explanation doesn't account for the mind-boggling precision. Some straight lines run for miles without deviating more than a few feet, a feat requiring mathematics beyond what textbooks attribute to the era. And let's not forget the environmental factor. The Nazca Desert's windless, rainless climate preserved these lines, but their creators couldn't have known they'd last millennia. Were they banking on eternity, or did they understand their landscape better than we do? Modern technology has revealed even stranger details. Satellite imaging shows many glyphs align with fault lines, suggesting the Nazca might have tapped into seismic activity as part of their rituals. Some animal figures, like the colossal 300-foot pelican, mirror constellations the Nazca associated with water, hinting at a complex language of symbols linking earth and sky. Yet for every answer, new questions emerge. Why do some lines abruptly change direction at high speed, as if the artist pivoted mid-stroke? And why are certain glyphs, like the infamous killer whale, found nowhere else in Nazca art? Perhaps the most haunting realization is that the Nazca themselves left no written explanation. Their civilization collapsed centuries before the Inca rose, taking their motives to silence. Today, the lines remain a testament to human ingenuity, or a warning. In 1994, a Greenpeace stunt damaged part of the hummingbird glyph, proving how fragile these ancient marvels are. They've survived earthquakes and droughts, but now face modern threats from climate change and encroaching development. The Nazca Lines don't just ask us to ponder their origins, they challenge us to consider what legacies were etching into the planet, and whether anyone 2,000 years from now will understand them any better than we understand these desert enigmas. Among the many theories surrounding Peru's Nazca Lines, none sparks more heated debate than the idea that these colossal desert drawings were meant for beings not of this world. The so-called ancient astronaut hypothesis suggests the lines served as landing strips or signals for extraterrestrial visitors, pointing to their massive scale and precise geometric forms as proof that human hands alone couldn't have created them. Proponents highlight the astronaut glyph, a humanoid figure with what appear to be oversized eyes and a floating posture, as potential evidence of otherworldly contact. Some even argue that the straight, mile-long lines resemble modern runways, a design supposedly meaningless to earthbound cultures without knowledge of aerial navigation. Archaeologists, however, dismantle these claims piece by piece. The astronaut, they explain, is more likely a representation of a shaman mid-ritual, wearing traditional ceremonial attire that included a headdress common in Andean iconography. As for the so-called runways, the desert's hard, flat surface would have been disastrous for any landing craft, let alone one advanced enough to cross interstellar space. And while the precision of the lines is impressive, it's hardly impossible for ancient peoples to achieve. Experiments have shown that teams using simple wooden stakes and ropes could replicate these designs using basic surveying techniques passed down through generations. The Nazca didn't need alien intervention. They had ingenuity, time, and a deep cultural incentive to create these sprawling symbols. Yet the alien theory persists, fueled in part by the sheer otherworldliness of the desert landscape itself. Seen from above, the lines do resemble signals meant for someone or something looking down. And it's undeniably eerie how certain glyphs, like the spider or the hummingbird, mirror constellations visible during the Nazca's peak. Could these have served as celestial markers for visitors, or were they simply maps aligning earthly and heavenly realms, as so many ancient cultures believed? Even skeptics admit the lines embody a profound mystery. Why dedicate centuries of labor to art you can't fully see? Perhaps the most compelling counterargument comes from the Nazca's descendants, the modern Peruvians who see these lines as sacred inheritances rather than alien billboards. Local oral traditions describe the glyphs as pathways for spirits, not spacecraft, a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, and recent discoveries of ritual artifacts near the lines support this idea, suggesting they were pilgrimage sites where offerings were made to deities associated with water and fertility. The irony is striking. What some attribute to advanced extraterrestrials may instead be humanity's oldest plea to forces beyond our control: the rain, the stars, the fragile balance of life in a harsh world. In the end, the Nazca Lines don't need aliens to be extraordinary. Their true power lies in the enduring human drive to leave a mark, to reach beyond the horizon, whether toward the heavens or the divine. The real wonder isn't who they were meant for, but how they've endured, whispering across 2,000 years that some questions are meant to linger, unresolved, stretching like those ancient lines toward an answer just out of reach. For centuries, the Great Pyramid of Giza stood as a silent sentinel of the ancient world, its secrets locked beneath 4,500 years of stone and dust. But in 2017, a revolutionary technology tore a hole in that silence: muon radiography, a cosmic ray scanning method that peeks through solid rock like an X-ray for mountains. What it revealed stunned archaeologists: two massive, previously unknown voids lurking deep within the pyramid's core. The larger of these spaces, dubbed the Big Void, stretches nearly 100 feet long above the Grand Gallery, an empty chasm in a structure where every inch was thought to have purpose. The discovery sent shockwaves through Egyptology, not just because it proved we still don't fully understand this wonder, but because it raised a tantalizing question. What or who might be hidden in those pitch-black chambers? Mainstream Egyptologists tread carefully around speculation. The voids could be structural reliefs designed to redistribute the pyramid's crushing weight away from its inner passages. But fringe theories ignite imaginations. Some researchers point to ancient texts describing harmonic chambers, where rituals transformed the pyramid into a giant energy conduit, resonating with Earth's natural frequencies. Others whisper of lost burial sites, perhaps even the original resting place of Pharaoh Khufu, whose mummy has never been found. Then there's the wild card: could these voids hold artifacts so precious, so destabilizing to our understanding of history, that authorities resist invasive exploration? The hesitation to drill boreholes or send probes isn't just about preserving antiquity, it's the fear of what might rewrite everything we know. Muon imaging itself reads like science fiction. These subatomic particles, born from cosmic rays colliding with Earth's atmosphere, penetrate stone hundreds of times deeper than X-rays. When scientists from the Scan Pyramids project placed detectors around the pyramid, they mapped the voids by tracking where muons passed through unobstructed verses where the dense limestone blocked them. The precision is staggering. The Big Void's dimensions are known down to the centimeter, yet its purpose remains utterly opaque. Even stranger, its orientation mirrors the Grand Gallery below, suggesting deliberate design rather than accidental gaps. Thermal scans hint at different materials or airflow within the voids, further muddying the waters. The political and ethical quagmire around exploring these spaces is just as labyrinthine as the pyramid itself. Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities has resisted physical investigation, citing risks to the structure's integrity. Critics argue bureaucracy and tourism dollars play equal roles. After all, an intact mystery draws more visitors than a solved one. Meanwhile, roboticists propose miniature rovers or fiber optic cameras threaded through cracks no wider than a coin. But even these methods could disturb fragile equilibrium. It's a modern echo of ancient curses. The deeper we probe, the more we risk unraveling not just stone, but the very legacy of human achievement. Perhaps the most humbling thought isn't that these voids exist, it's that they remind us how much we still don't see. The Great Pyramid has stood through ages of plunder, study, and reverence, yet its heart remains untouched. Every scan, every theory brings us closer to its builders' intentions, only to reveal new layers of their genius. Whether these chambers hold treasure, silence, or simply the ghosts of unanswered questions, they stand as a monument to humanity's oldest impulse, to build riddles so grand even time itself can't erase them. The Great Pyramid of Giza doesn't just dominate the desert skyline. It whispers equations in stone. Every measurement, every angle encodes mathematical relationships so precise they border on the uncanny. Take its base dimensions, 756 feet per side, with a margin of error less than 2 inches across its 13-acre footprint. That's a level of accuracy rivaling modern laser-guided construction. But the real shock comes when you crunch the numbers. Divide the pyramid's perimeter by twice its height, and you get pi 3.1416, matching the mathematical constant to 4 decimal places. This wasn't just coincidence. The ancient builders embedded advanced geometry into the very bones of this monument, millennia before Greece's mathematicians supposedly discovered these principles. Then there's the celestial ballet. The pyramid's 4 sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal directions north, south, east, west, deviating by just 3/60ths of a degree. To achieve this without compasses or GPS, architects likely tracked stars like Theban, the pole star of their era. But the alignments go deeper. The descending passages point directly to the constellation Orion, sacred to the god Osiris, while the southern shaft targets Sirius, the brightest star in Earth's sky. These aren't rough approximations. Modern astronomers confirm the angles match the star's positions in 2500 BC, the pyramid's estimated construction date. It's as if the builders froze the night sky in limestone. The pyramid's scale also mirrors Earth itself. Multiply its height by 43,200 and you get the planet's polar radius. Its perimeter, equatorial circumference divided by 43,200. This scale factor ties the pyramid to global dimensions with eerie precision. Critics argue these could be coincidences, but the recurrence of key numbers like 25,826, the length of Earth's precessional cycle in years, suggests intentional design. Even the pyramid's location is mathematically charged. It sits at the intersection of the longest land meridian and the longest parallel, effectively making it the center of Earth's landmasses. Fringe theorists pounce on these details as evidence of lost technology or extraterrestrial blueprints. How could a Bronze Age culture calculate planetary dimensions without satellites? Why encode advanced mathematics in a tomb? Mainstream Egyptologists counter with simpler explanations. The pi correlation likely stems from the builders using a rolling drum to measure distances, inadvertently replicating the circle-to-diameter ratio. Celestial alignments reflect religious symbolism, not star maps, and the global scale, numerology finding patterns in any large enough dataset, yet the mystery lingers. Why would a civilization with no known written math texts embed such constants? Maybe the pyramid wasn't just a tomb, but a monument to universal harmony, blending science, religion, and art. Its architects saw no divide between sacred geometry and celestial worship. To them, numbers were divine language and the pyramid, a prayer written in stone. Every measurement whispers a truth we're still unraveling. That ancient genius might not fit neatly into our textbooks, but it's etched permanently into the desert, waiting for us to measure again and wonder. In the dusty archives of Iraq's National Museum sits an object that shouldn't exist, a small clay jar roughly the size of a fist, dating back to the Parthian Empire around 2,000 years ago. At first glance, it looks unremarkable, just another ancient pottery fragment. But inside lies the real shock, a copper cylinder, an iron rod, and traces of a long evaporated acidic liquid like vinegar or wine. When archaeologists first pieced these components together in 1938, they realized with growing disbelief what they'd found. This wasn't a storage vessel. It was a battery. The Baghdad Battery, as it came to be known, could theoretically generate around 1 volt of electricity, enough to produce a faint tingling sensation if you touched the electrodes. But here's the burning question: why would an ancient civilization need electricity? Replicas built using the same materials have proven it works. Fill the jar with an acidic electrolyte, and the chemical reaction between the copper and iron creates a weak current. Some researchers suggest these devices might have been linked together in series to boost voltage, possibly for electroplating, the process of coating one metal with another using electric charge. Artifacts from the same period show items like gold-plated silver ornaments crafted with techniques that baffled historians until now. Could these batteries have been the missing link? Skeptics argue there's no direct evidence connecting the jars to metalworking, but the parallels are tantalizing. Then there's the medical angle. Ancient Greek and Roman texts describe using electric fish to numb pain, suggesting early awareness of electricity's physiological effects. Maybe the Baghdad Battery served a similar purpose, delivering mild shocks to relieve ailments or as part of mystical healing rituals. Others propose a religious function. Imagine priests using these devices to make statues come alive with sparks during ceremonies, terrifying or mesmerizing worshippers. The absence of wires or clear usage instructions leaves room for speculation, but one thing's certain: this wasn't a one-off experiment. Multiple jars have been found across the region, hinting at a broader, if forgotten, technological tradition. The most haunting possibility: that the Baghdad Battery represents a fragment of a much larger, lost science. What if other applications existed? Light sources, signaling devices, even primitive circuitry that simply didn't survive the ravages of time. Without written records, we're left with silent artifacts that refuse to give up their secrets. The jar sits today behind glass, a humble-looking relic that quietly defies our assumptions about the timeline of human innovation. Whether it powered workshops, temples, or hospitals, its very existence whispers a reminder. Ancient people weren't just building monuments, they were experimenting with forces we still don't fully understand. The debate over the Baghdad Battery isn't just about ancient technology, it's a clash of worldviews. On one side, skeptics argue the jar was nothing more than a sacred scroll holder, its metal components merely decorative or functional in ways unrelated to electricity. They point out that no wires, electrodes, or conclusive evidence of electrical use have been found alongside these artifacts. Without direct proof, they say, labeling it a battery is romantic speculation. Even the acidic residue could have been from spoiled food or ritual offerings, not an intentional electrolyte. To these critics, the idea of ancient electroplating or medical applications is a modern projection, a case of seeing what we want to see in the dust of history. But the counterarguments are just as compelling. Why would a scroll holder need an iron rod sealed inside a copper cylinder, precisely the setup required for a galvanic cell? Experiments show that even weak currents from replicas can electroplate small objects, a technique known to cultures like the Mesopotamians, who produced intricate gilded artifacts. And while no wires survive, organic materials like plant fibers or animal sinew, plausible conductors for ancient use, would have decayed long ago. The absence of evidence, proponents argue, isn't evidence of absence. What's often overlooked is the cultural context. The Parthians were inheritors of scientific traditions stretching back to Babylon, where advanced astronomy, chemistry, and metallurgy thrived. Could electricity have been a serendipitous discovery, harnessed without full theoretical understanding? Consider ancient goldsmiths noticing that certain solutions, when combined with metals, produced strange tingles or altered surfaces. Trial and error might have led to practical applications long before formal science explained why they worked. The real controversy lies deeper than archaeology. If these jars were batteries, they challenge the linear narrative of human progress, the assumption that electricity was discovered in the 18th century. But history isn't a straight line. Knowledge can be lost, suppressed, or simply forgotten. The Baghdad Battery, whether ritual object or rudimentary power source, forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Ancient innovators might have stumbled onto technologies we still don't credit them with. And if they did, how many other breakthroughs have vanished without a trace? Even today, the artifact refuses to be pigeonholed. Modern scientists can't agree, and maybe that's the point. Some mysteries don't yield tidy answers. They linger, sparking debates that illuminate not just the past, but our own biases. Whether you see the jar as a battery or a coincidence, it stands as a testament to human curiosity and the humbling realization that the ancient world might have been far more electrifying than we ever imagined. High in the Andes, clinging to the mountains above Cusco, the walls of Sacsayhuamán stand as a stone puzzle that has baffled engineers for centuries. This sprawling Inca fortress isn't just built with massive boulders, some weighing over 100 tons, but with stones cut so precisely that their joints fit together like a three-dimensional jigsaw. Run your hand along the seams and you'll feel nothing but smooth stone. Not even a razor blade can slip between them. The precision is staggering, especially when you realize these megaliths were shaped and transported without iron tools, wheels, or mortar. How did a civilization without the wheel or written blueprint system achieve such perfection? The mystery deepens when you examine the stone's bizarre shapes. Unlike conventional rectangular blocks, these boulders have as many as 12 angles each, their edges chamfered and curved to interlock perfectly with neighboring stones. Modern engineers have tried replicating the technique using primitive tools, only to find that the slightest error renders the entire system unstable. Some researchers believe the Inca used a method called guess and check, repeatedly lowering stones onto each other and grinding away high spots with handheld abrasives, a process that would require inhuman patience and skill. Others suggest they might have employed some form of advanced geometry, perhaps using knotted cords called kippers to calculate angles, but even these theories can't fully explain the wall's earthquake resistance. During tremors that topple modern buildings, Sacsayhuamán stones merely shift slightly before settling back into place, their intricate joints acting as natural shock absorbers. Then there are the whispers of something stranger. Local legends speak of the walls humming during certain celestial alignments, a phenomenon some visitors claim to have heard. Researchers using sensitive audio equipment have detected unusual acoustic properties. Specific frequencies seem to resonate through the stonework as if the fortress were designed to amplify sound. Could this have been intentional? The Inca revered sound in rituals, believing certain tones could bridge the physical and spiritual worlds. Even more controversial are claims that the zigzagging walls form a giant energy conduit, with some dowser rods reacting strongly at the joints. Mainstream archaeologists dismiss these ideas as pseudoscience, but the precision of the stonework leaves room for wonder. Were the Inca merely master stonemasons, or did they understand vibrational physics in ways we're only beginning to grasp? Perhaps the most humbling aspect of Sacsayhuamán isn't the how, but the why. This wasn't just a military stronghold, it was a ceremonial center, a place where the earthly and divine intersected. The wall's perfection might reflect a deeper philosophy, that harmony in construction mirrored cosmic order. Every seamless joint, every resonating stone could have been a prayer made tangible. Today, as modern lasers scan these walls and still can't fully decode their secrets, we're left with a haunting thought. The Inca didn't just build a fortress. They left us a riddle in rock, one that stands as silent and unyielding as the mountains themselves. The stones of Sacsayhuamán don't just defy gravity, they mirror the heavens. On the June solstice, the rising sun aligns with razor-sharp precision to illuminate a series of trapezoidal niches carved into the fortress's towering walls, casting geometric shadows that creep across the stone like celestial clockwork. These aren't random architectural flourishes. Every angle, every curve seems calibrated to track the sun's annual journey with an accuracy that rivals modern observatories. But the solar alignments are just the beginning. During clear nights, the zigzagging walls frame key constellations sacred to the Inca, particularly the Southern Cross and the dark cloud constellations of the Milky Way, which they revered as celestial rivers and animals. The entire complex might be less a fortress and more a stone and sky compass, encoding an entire cosmology in rock. Archaeoastronomers have mapped these alignments with growing astonishment. 3 distinct sets of walls, each tier representing one of the Incas' 3 spiritual realms: Honan Pacha, the upper world; K Pacha, the earthly plane; and Uku Pacha, the underworld, align with specific stars during solstices and equinoxes. The central plaza, once thought to be a mustering ground for troops, forms a perfect rectangle whose corners point to sunrise and sunset on key agricultural dates. Even more striking are the light knives phenomenon. During certain solar events, sunlight slices between precisely spaced boulders to project beams onto ceremonial basins, possibly marking times for planting or harvest rituals. The Inca didn't just build with stone, they wove time itself into the landscape. What's often overlooked is how these alignments served practical and spiritual purposes simultaneously. The June solstice marked not just a celestial event, but the start of the dry season critical for an empire dependent on terrace farming. By tracking the sun's position against Sacsayhuamán's walls, priests could predict weather patterns, organize labor cycles, and even time military campaigns to avoid monsoon floods. Yet the site's design suggests a deeper layer of meaning. The infamous Throne of the Inca, a carved stone seat perched above the complex, aligns with the December solstice sunrise so precisely that some researchers believe it was used for initiation rites, bathing rulers in transformative light during ceremonies. Local Quechua elders still whisper that Sacsayhuamán was built where the Earth's energy lines converge, making it a portal between worlds. Modern instruments have detected unusual magnetic anomalies near the throne and certain zigzag walls, though mainstream science attributes these to mineral deposits. Still, it's hard to dismiss the uncanny way sound behaves here. Whispers echo unnaturally off specific surfaces, and drums played at certain points resonate through the entire complex. Was this intentional acoustic engineering designed to amplify chants during stargazing rituals? The Inca left no written records, but their stonework speaks volumes. Every solstice, as the sun once again kisses the niches it's touched for centuries, Sacsayhuamán reminds us, some civilizations didn't just observe the cosmos. They built bridges to it. Nestled high in the Bolivian Andes, the ruins of Puma Punku don't just defy history, they mock it. Scattered across this windswept plateau are hundreds of shattered stone blocks, each one carved with geometric precision, so exact it looks like the work of industrial machinery. We're talking about granite and diorite slabs, some weighing over 100 tons, cut with perfect 90-degree angles, smooth drilled holes, and razor-sharp edges that modern masons would struggle to replicate even with diamond-tipped tools. But here's the kicker. These stones were shaped over 1,000 years before the Inca Empire rose, in a culture that supposedly had no metal harder than copper. So how did ancient builders achieve what looks like machine tooling? The closer you examine these blocks, the more mind-bending they become. Many feature interlocking grooves and notches that resemble modern prefabricated construction, with recesses so precise they could only have been made with calibrated instruments. Some slabs have rows of identical holes drilled at uniform depths, spaced with millimeter-perfect consistency, a feat requiring tools that shouldn't have existed for another millennium. Then there are the infamous H-blocks, massive stone components shaped like capital H's with such symmetry that they look like parts from a giant stone puzzle. Archaeologists suggest they might have anchored wooden beams, but their flawless geometry suggests something more systematic, almost modular. The most controversial theories emerge when you consider the material. Diorite, one of the keystones used at Puma Punku, ranks just below diamond on the Mohs hardness scale. Conventional wisdom says ancient workers pounded it into shape with stone hammers, but experiments show this method would take months per block, and yet the site contains thousands. Alternative researchers point to the stone's glassy, almost melted surfaces, speculating about lost technologies, ultrasonic drills, plasma cutting, or even tools harnessing vibration frequencies to soften rock. Local Aymara legends add fuel to the fire, speaking of a time when the gods built Puma Punku in a single night using light that cut mountains. Mainstream archaeology offers more grounded explanations, albeit no less impressive. Some scholars propose that Tiwanaku artisans developed advanced abrasive techniques using quartz sand and copper tubes, slowly grinding shapes into the stone over generations. Others highlight the site's strategic location near ancient trade routes, suggesting knowledge of metallurgy or stonework might have come from distant cultures. But even these theories can't fully explain the site's abrupt abandonment or the eerie way some blocks appear to have been shattered, not by time or earthquakes, but as if struck with unimaginable force. Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't how Puma Punku was built, but why. This wasn't a haphazard collection of stones. It was a meticulously planned complex aligned with celestial events, its walls once adorned with gold and vibrant pigments. The precision suggests more than just craftsmanship. It implies a deep understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and physics that rewrites our timeline of Andean innovation. Whether you see it as proof of lost technology or simply the pinnacle of ancient ingenuity, one thing's certain: these stones don't just lie in ruins. They stand as silent challengers, daring us to reconsider what prehistoric cultures were truly capable of. Among Puma Punku's most perplexing relics are the so-called H-shaped blocks, stone components so precisely engineered they look like fragments of some colossal ancient machine. These aren't just carved rocks, they feature interlocking grooves, T-shaped slots, and recessed channels that fit together with the precision of modern industrial parts. Each groove angles inward at exactly the same degree, creating a seamless joint when connected to another block. The symmetry is so exact that even slight deviations less than a millimeter would have caused the entire system to fail. Yet somehow, without lasers or computer modeling, the builders achieved perfection. Were these simply architectural innovations, or could their geometric precision hold deeper significance? One prevailing theory suggests the H-blocks functioned as seismic stabilizers. The Tiwanaku civilization, which thrived in this earthquake-prone region, might have designed these interlocking forms to absorb and redistribute tectonic forces. Modern architects use similar principles in skyscrapers, where flexible joints allow structures to sway during tremors without collapsing. The H-block's intricate notches could have acted as a primitive version of this technology, locking together under stress while allowing subtle movement. Supporting this idea are the block's material choices: andesite, a volcanic stone with natural shock-absorbing properties. It's as if the builders understood not just geometry, but the very geology beneath their feet. But another possibility lingers in the realm of symbolism. The repeating H-shape mirrors sacred motifs found in Tiwanaku textiles and pottery, often representing the stages of agricultural cycles or celestial events. Some researchers propose the blocks formed a giant calendar or ritual diagram, their alignment tracking solstices or lunar phases. One particularly striking H-block features 72 precisely drilled holes along its edge, a number that corresponds to the years it takes for the sun to shift 1 degree along the horizon in the precession of the equinoxes. Could this have been an astronomical calculator, encoding knowledge of Earth's wobble millennia before modern science confirmed it? Then there's the fringe hypothesis that these blocks were components of a larger, lost technology. Their uniformity suggests mass production, yet no two are perfectly identical. Each has subtle variations in groove, depth, or angle, as if custom fit for specific positions. A few even bear what appear to be tool marks consistent with high-speed drilling, a technique impossible with the era's known copper tools. Local oral traditions speak of viracochas, divine beings who built with light, cutting stone as if it were soft clay. While mainstream scholars dismiss this as myth, the stone's uncanny precision keeps the speculation alive. Were the H-blocks meant to be reassembled into something greater, a device, a gateway, or a machine whose purpose we've forgotten? The truth may lie in a blend of these ideas. The Tiwanaku were master engineers and astronomers, their cosmology deeply intertwined with architecture. The H-blocks likely served multiple roles, stabilizing sacred structures, marking celestial time, and perhaps even acting as tactile teaching tools for initiates. Today, as 3D scanners map every groove and angle, we're left with a humbling realization. These stones weren't just building materials, they were a language, one carved in geometry and aligned with the stars, waiting for us to decipher its final equation. Beneath the rolling hills of Zhejiang province in China lies an underground empire of staggering scale, the Longyu Caves, discovered by accident in 1992 when a local farmer drained a small pond. These hand-carved caverns stretch across an incomprehensible 30,000 square meters, their ceilings supported by towering stone pillars spaced with architectural precision. The sheer volume of excavated rock would fill 2,000 Olympic swimming pools, yet not a single historical text, imperial record, or local legend mentions their construction. Who dug these caverns? How did they prevent catastrophic collapses without modern engineering? And why would a civilization invest centuries of labor into a project so vast, only to abandon it without a trace? Walking through these caves feels like stepping into a forbidden labyrinth. The walls bear thousands of parallel chisel marks, each stroke angled at exactly 60 degrees, a consistency so exact it suggests armies of workers following standardized techniques. The pillars aren't random supports, they're strategically placed to distribute weight along natural fault lines, a method geologists confirm would require intimate knowledge of the mountain's internal structure. Even more baffling are the ceilings, carved with smooth, undulating patterns that resemble rippling water. Some researchers believe these weren't mere decorations, but acoustic enhancements tests show the caves amplify sound in ways that mimic underground rivers, possibly used for rituals or communication. The absence of soot marks rules out torches, leaving researchers puzzled about how workers illuminated such depths. Mirrors could have reflected sunlight, but no fragments have been found. Even more cryptic are the lack of artifacts, no tools, no pottery, not even a single shard to hint at the cave's purpose. Theories range from imperial stone quarries to hidden military bunkers, but the cave's ornate details contradict practical uses. Local folklore speaks of a mythical emperor who ordered the mountains hollowed to store the sky's tears, while others whisper of underground cities built during apocalyptic droughts. Modern attempts to recreate the construction only deepen the mystery. Engineers estimate removing this much rock would require 1,000 people working around the clock for 24 years, yet there's no evidence of such a workforce. The chisel marks indicate left-handed and right-handed laborers worked simultaneously, an organized system that defies the era's known labor practices. Most haunting of all, the caves align with celestial events. During the winter solstice, sunlight pierces specific tunnels, illuminating carvings of stars unseen in today's night sky, perhaps a forgotten constellation from millennia past. The Longyu Caves don't just defy explanation, they defy time itself. Unlike pyramids or temples, these weren't built to glorify rulers or gods. They were meant to disappear, swallowed by the earth until chance revealed them. Whether sacred space, engineering experiment, or something beyond our understanding, their silence speaks volumes. In a land where history was meticulously recorded, these caverns are a deliberate blank page, a mystery not lost but hidden. And whoever carved them clearly intended for their secrets to stay buried. The moment you whisper inside the Long U caves, something eerie happens. Your voice doesn't just echo. It swirls. Certain chambers amplify sound with unnatural precision, turning even the softest murmur into a chorus that lingers for seconds. Stand in one specific spot, and your words resonate as if you're speaking through a hidden microphone. Move just a few feet away, and the effect vanishes completely. This isn't random acoustics. The walls, ceilings, and even the rippling patterns carved into the stone seem engineered to bend sound in ways that defy the era's known technology. Were these caverns designed as ancient concert halls, ritual spaces, or something far more mysterious? Acoustic engineers who mapped the caves made a startling discovery. The undulating patterns on the ceilings aren't decorative. They function like primitive sound diffusers, scattering audio frequencies to eliminate dead zones. In some chambers, the reverberation time matches modern opera houses, suggesting a deliberate attempt to create perfect acoustics. Even more baffling are the singing pillars, stone columns that hum at specific frequencies when struck, producing tones reminiscent of Tibetan singing bowls. Local legends speak of ceremonies where priests used these vibrations to induce trance states, their chants amplified by the cave's natural resonance. But the real enigma lies in the cave's silence. Despite their acoustic brilliance, no instruments or musical artifacts have been found. This leads some researchers to speculate the caves themselves were the instrument. Imagine striking the walls with mallets or chanting in harmony with the natural frequencies. The entire mountain might have throbbed like a colossal drum. Others propose a practical use. The acoustics could have helped workers communicate across vast distances in pitch darkness, their voices guided by the stone. Modern experiments add another layer to the puzzle. When tones matching the cave's resonant frequencies are played, water droplets on the walls vibrate in geometric patterns, a phenomenon known as cymatics. Ancient cultures from India to Egypt believed sound could shape matter, and the Long U cave's design suggests their builders might have shared this belief. Were they attempting to harness sound for purposes beyond our understanding? The answer might lie in the stars. Certain chambers only resonate during specific lunar phases, as if the caves were tuned not just to human voices but to celestial rhythms. Today, the caves remain eerily silent, their acoustic secrets locked in stone. Whether sacred sound chambers, ancient laboratories, or the world's first surround sound system, one thing is clear: whoever carved these caverns didn't just move mountains. They composed a symphony in stone, and we've only just begun to hear its opening notes. Buried in the dense jungles and river deltas of Costa Rica lie hundreds of stone spheres so perfectly round they seem to defy the very hands that carved them. Ranging from the size of a melon to colossal balls over 8 feet in diameter, weighing as much as 16 tons, these enigmatic orbs have puzzled archaeologists since their discovery in the 1930s when workers clearing banana plantations unearthed them by the dozens. Their surfaces, polished to a smoothness that rivals modern machining, bear no chisel marks or tool grooves, raising the first of many baffling questions. How could pre-Columbian cultures, using only stone tools, achieve such geometric perfection? The sphere's origins trace back to the Dikwis people, who flourished between 700 and 1500 CE. Yet the precision of these objects suggests knowledge beyond what's typically attributed to the era. Laser scans reveal irregularities of less than 2 millimeters across some spheres, comparable to the tolerance of industrial ball bearings. Even more perplexing is their material, gabbro, a coarse volcanic rock notoriously difficult to shape without fracturing. Modern sculptors attempting to replicate these orbs with period-accurate tools report months of labor for even small spheres, yet the Dikwis left behind hundreds, some positioned in alignments stretching for miles. One prevailing theory suggests the spheres functioned as astronomical markers. Certain groupings align with solstice sunrises or key stars, while others form geometric patterns mirroring constellations sacred to Mesoamerican cultures. Some researchers propose they were part of a vast celestial calendar, their positions tracking seasons or lunar cycles. But the jungle's relentless growth has shifted many spheres from their original placements, leaving these astronomical claims tantalizing but unproven. Another debate centers on their social purpose. Were they territorial markers for elite settlements, symbols of power like the moai of Easter Island? Excavations near some spheres reveal gold artifacts and ceremonial pottery, hinting at ritual use. Local legends speak of the spheres as taura, or arrows of the gods, hurled from the heavens to demarcate sacred land. Yet their distribution clustered near waterways, yet also scattered deep inland, defies a single explanation. The most controversial theories emerge when considering their transport. How were multi-ton spheres moved dozens of miles without wheels or draft animals? Some spheres rest atop artificial mounds, suggesting sophisticated ramps or lever systems. Others bear faint, unexplained grooves that fringe researchers argue could be attachment points for ropes or wooden frames, technology far ahead of its time. What's undeniable is the sphere's enduring mystery. Unlike pyramids or temples, they offer no inscriptions, no clear artistic evolution, just silent, perfect forms resisting time and interpretation. Whether celestial maps, status symbols, or relics of a forgotten science, they remain Costa Rica's stone sentinels, guarding secrets we've only begun to unravel. The stone spheres of Costa Rica refuse to obey geography. While many cluster near ancient diquis settlements along the Delta del Diquis, others stand isolated in near inaccessible regions, perched on hilltops, half buried in riverbeds, even stranded in dense rainforest miles from the nearest quarry. This bizarre distribution pattern sparks one of archaeology's most stubborn questions. How did pre-Columbian people transport these multi-ton orbs across rugged terrain without leaving so much as a broken sled or worn path behind? Take the infamous El Silencio sphere, a 15-ton behemoth discovered deep in the Taroba Valley. The nearest known gabbro deposit lies over 30 miles away, with swamps, ravines, and jungle in between. Modern engineers calculated moving it would require hundreds of laborers using log rollers, yet no evidence of such a massive operation exists. Even stranger, some spheres sit atop artificial mounds with no clear access ramps, as if placed there by invisible hands. Local legends offer cryptic clues, speaking of the stones walking at night or being guided by singing ropes, but science demands tangible explanations. One compelling theory involves the sphere's hidden geometry. Researchers noticed many were found near ancient waterways, suggesting they might have been transported by river, partially submerged and floated on rafts during seasonal floods. Experiments show that while gabbro is denser than water, attaching buoyant materials like balsa wood could keep them afloat. But this doesn't account for spheres like those in the Finca Sacsayhuamán, miles from any navigable river. Another hypothesis points to the diquis' sophisticated understanding of terrain. Some spheres rest along natural glacial moraines, ancient pathways of deposited rock that form smooth, firm routes through the jungle. Could these have served as prehistoric highways for moving heavy loads? Yet the most perplexing cases defy all conventional logic. In the 1940s, looters reportedly rolled several spheres downhill to load onto trucks, only to watch in shock as they cracked open, revealing perfectly carved interior chambers. While most archaeologists dismiss these accounts as tall tales, a few verified spheres do show mysterious hollow spaces detectable only through sonar. Were these intentional features to reduce weight for transport, or do they hint at a ritual purpose like resonating chambers for sound ceremonies? The broader mystery isn't just how the spheres moved, but why they were placed where they are. Unlike megaliths aligned to solstices, these orbs show no consistent astronomical orientation. Instead, their positions might reflect something subtler: territorial boundaries, trade route markers, or even physical manifestations of oral histories. Certain clusters form rough circles matching the cosmic turtle motif in diquis mythology, while lone spheres often mark freshwater springs, a vital resource in the tropics. Modern technology has only deepened the puzzle. LiDAR scans reveal previously unknown spheres hidden beneath vegetation, their positions forming geometric patterns invisible from the ground. One newly discovered alignment near Puma Punku traces the constellation Orion's belt as it appeared around 900 CE, but with one star displaced, possibly marking a supernova unseen by European astronomers. Whether celestial map, territorial claim, or sacred artifact, the sphere's true purpose may be as multifaceted as their distribution. What's undeniable is the staggering effort behind their placement. Moving a single 8-foot sphere would require weeks of coordinated labor, yet hundreds were positioned across the landscape with deliberate intent. The lack of tool marks or broken transport devices suggests the Dikwi's possessed techniques lost to time, perhaps involving lever systems, counterweights, or even sonic methods hinted at in oral traditions. These weren't just stones dropped randomly, they were placed with precision, as if each location held meaning we've yet to decipher. The jungle guards its secrets fiercely. As vegetation reclaims sites and looters destroy context, the sphere's original configurations fade into myth. Perhaps their greatest lesson is one of humility, a reminder that ancient cultures achieved feats our modern assumptions can't always explain. Silent and smooth, these stone sentinels challenge us to rethink not just how they were moved, but why their makers deemed certain spots worthy of such Herculean effort. Every misplaced sphere is a whisper from the past, asking if we'll ever truly listen. Rising from the Turkish plains like a Stone Age cathedral, Gobekli Tepe shatters everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. This 12,000-year-old temple complex predates Stonehenge by 6 millennia and the Egyptian pyramids by 7, built not by settled farmers, but by nomadic hunter-gatherers who carved towering limestone pillars adorned with intricate animal reliefs. The sophistication of these carvings, featuring foxes, scorpions, lions, and vultures rendered in stunning detail, challenges the long-held assumption that complex symbolic thought only emerged after the advent of agriculture. How could wandering bands of prehistoric people, supposedly focused solely on survival, conceptualize and execute such monumental art? The pillars themselves are a study in ancient ingenuity. Each T-shaped megalith weighs up to 20 tons, hauled from quarries hundreds of feet away without wheels or domesticated animals. But it's the carvings that truly mystify. Unlike later agricultural societies who depicted docile herds, Gobekli Tepe's artists chose predators and dangerous creatures: a snarling lion frozen mid-pounce, a coiled serpent ready to strike, a vulture with wings spread as if descending on prey. Some archaeologists interpret these as totems of clans who gathered here for rituals, while others see them as representations of constellations, mapping the night sky as it appeared during the Younger Dryas period. The most haunting theory suggests these animals weren't just symbols, but participants in shamanic ceremonies, spirit guides carved into stone to bridge the human and supernatural worlds. Even more perplexing is the site's deliberate burial. Around 8000 BCE, someone carefully filled in the entire complex with thousands of tons of soil, preserving it like a time capsule. Was this an act of reverence, hiding sacred ground from changing beliefs? Or did the builders know their knowledge was too dangerous to leave exposed? Modern laser scans reveal that the pillars align with celestial events like the summer solstice, while acoustic tests show certain chambers amplified sound, possibly used to enhance drumming or chanting during ceremonies. This wasn't just a temple, it was a prehistoric observatory and ritual theater rolled into one. The implications rewrite human history. Gobekli Tepe suggests that organized religion and communal projects may have driven the development of settled societies, not the other way around. Perhaps hunter-gatherers banded together to build these structures first, creating the need for agriculture to feed the workforce. Fragments of fermented grain found nearby hint at early beer production, raising the provocative idea that feasting, not famine, spurred the Neolithic Revolution. The site's abandonment coincides with the dawn of farming, as if humanity traded its cosmic connection with wild animals for the domestication of plants and beasts. Today, only a fraction of Gobekli Tepe has been excavated. Each new pillar unearthed carries the potential to append another assumption about our ancestors' capabilities. Those animal eyes staring across 12 millennia seem to ask, how much of our progress was truly advancement and how much was forgetting? The stones don't just depict a lost world, they interrogate the very foundations of civilization itself. Gobekli Tepe presents archaeologists with an eerie void, not in its towering pillars or intricate carvings, but in the ground beneath them. Despite 12,000 years of history, not a single human burial, bone fragment, or grave offering has been found within the complex. This absence is deafening when compared to other Neolithic sites like Sacsayhuamán, where skeletons were tucked beneath floors in intimate domestic rituals, or Jericho with its famed skull cult. So why would a structure so clearly imbued with spiritual significance show no trace of the dead? The answer might rewrite our understanding of humanity's first sacred spaces. Some scholars argue the lack of remains suggests Gobekli Tepe wasn't a mortuary site at all, but rather a living temple dedicated to celestial forces. The precise alignment of certain pillars with solstices and star positions supports this theory. Perhaps it functioned as a ritual calendar where communities gathered to mark cosmic events rather than inter their dead. Others point to the predominance of predator carvings, speculating the site served as a shamanic portal where initiates entered trance states to commune with animal spirits, leaving physical death outside its boundaries. The vultures, in particular, offer a tantalizing clue. In later Anatolian cultures, these birds were associated with excarnation, the practice of exposing corpses to be stripped clean before burial. Could Gobekli Tepe's missing bones reflect a tradition where bodies were ritually disassembled elsewhere, leaving only symbolic representations within the temple? Then there's the radical possibility that the site's burial was its primary function not for humans but for ideas. The deliberate backfilling around 8000 BC coincides with the agricultural revolution, a pivot from nomadic life to settled farming. Some researchers propose Gobekli Tepe was intentionally entombed as a relic of the old ways, its wild animal carvings representing a worldview incompatible with domesticated landscapes. The act of burying the pillars might have been symbolic suicide, a conscious severing from humanity's hunter-gatherer psyche. Supporting this is the discovery of similar, smaller structures nearby that were dismantled rather than buried, their stones repurposed for pragmatic use. Only Gobekli Tepe was preserved like a time capsule, as if its creators knew future generations would need its warning. Modern geophysical surveys add another layer to the enigma. Ground-penetrating radar reveals anomalies beneath the main complex, not graves, but what appear to be artificial chambers or tunnels yet to be excavated. These could hold answers or deeper mysteries. One prevailing theory suggests these spaces served as spirit traps, designed to capture supernatural forces during ceremonies rather than house physical remains. Contemporary hunter-gatherer groups like the San people of southern Africa practice rituals where energy is stored in specific locations, creating spiritual batteries of sorts. If Gobekli Tepe's builders shared this belief, the entire site might have been less a temple than a machine, ancient technology built to interface with forces we no longer recognize. The silence of the bones speaks volumes. Whether observatory, shamanic theater, or metaphysical device, Gobekli Tepe's true function resists categorization because it likely transcended the boundaries we impose between science, religion, and art. Its creators didn't just carve stone, they encoded a worldview where every vulture's wing and serpent's coil bridged realms we've since divided. The absence of human remains isn't an oversight, it's a statement. Some messages aren't meant to be carried by the dead, but by the living stones they left behind. Deep in the crypts of Egypt's Dendera temple complex, a stone relief stares back at modern visitors with an eerie familiarity. Etched into the walls of this 2,000-year-old structure is a striking image, a bulb-like object encased in what appears to be a glass tube, supported by a pillar with a serpent coiled inside stretching toward a socket-like base. To some, this is unmistakable, the Dendera light bulb, proof that ancient Egyptians harnessed electricity long before its supposed discovery. But to mainstream Egyptologists, it's nothing more than a misinterpreted religious symbol. So which is it, a glimpse of forgotten technology, or a case of modern eyes seeing what they want to see in ancient art? The mainstream explanation roots the image in Egyptian mythology. Scholars identify the bulb as a representation of the lotus flower, a sacred symbol of creation and rebirth. The filament inside the snake god Hemsut, an embodiment of primordial energy emerging from the lotus as it blooms. The surrounding figures, a jed pillar representing stability and a kneeling deity holding knives, fit neatly into known rituals depicting the nightly rebirth of the sun god Ra. To Egyptologists, this is simply another cosmic scene, part of a larger narrative about cyclical renewal. The resemblance to a light bulb, they argue, is pure coincidence, a Rorschach test for our technology-obsessed era. But the fringe theories refuse to fade. Engineers and alternative researchers point to the relief's uncanny technical details. The bulb connects to what looks like a cable or conduit, trailing off to a box reminiscent of an ancient battery, echoing artifacts like the Baghdad Battery. The serpent's posture mirrors the filament in early incandescent bulbs, while the socket base resembles an insulator. Even more compelling are the temple's soot-free ceilings, despite detailed paintings that would have required immense light to execute. Could the Dendera crypts have been illuminated by primitive arc lamps, their secrets encoded in stone to evade persecution or theft? Experiments add fuel to the fire. Replicas based on the relief's design, using gold-leafed copper, filaments, and grape juice as an electrolyte, have produced faint glows, enough to illuminate a dark chamber. While hardly practical by modern standards, the principle works. Ancient texts compound the mystery. The Book of the Hidden Chamber, referenced in Dendera's inscriptions, describes rituals involving divine light and fire that does not consume, phrases that take on new meaning if read literally. The truth may lie somewhere between dogma and speculation. Egyptian artisans were masters of symbolic shorthand, often embedding multiple meanings in single images. Maybe the Dendera relief was both myth and machine, a spiritual metaphor inspired by real, if rudimentary, electrical experiments. After all, the same culture that aligned pyramids with stars and tracked time via water clocks might have stumbled upon basic current without understanding its full potential. What's undeniable is the relief's power to provoke. Whether sacred art or schematic, it challenges our assumptions about ancient innovation. In a temple dedicated to Hathor, goddess of joy and cosmic order, perhaps the greatest lesson is this: some truths shine so brightly they're visible across millennia, even if we're still fumbling for the switch. The Dendera light's most tantalizing connection lies not in Egypt but in Iraq, where the so-called Baghdad Battery hints at ancient civilizations potentially harnessing electricity. This clay jar, containing a copper cylinder and iron rod, could generate around 1 volt when filled with an acidic electrolyte like vinegar. Could similar devices have powered the Dendera relief's purported light source? Experiments testing this theory reveal both promise and perplexing gaps. Modern reconstructions show that linking multiple Baghdad-style batteries in series can produce enough voltage to illuminate small bulbs or create faint arcs, but the Dendera relief depicts something far more advanced. Engineers attempting to replicate the temple's design with period-accurate materials face immediate hurdles. The glass required for the bulb's enclosure would have been impossibly fragile for ancient Egyptian artisans who typically produced only small beads or vessels. Even if they crafted a crude glass tube, maintaining a vacuum to prevent filament oxidation would demand knowledge of gas properties millennia ahead of their time. Then there's the filament dilemma. The relief's coiled serpent resembles a tungsten wire, but ancient metallurgy lacked the means to produce such high-resistance materials. Some theorists propose gold or silver threads, which replicators have used to create short-lived glows, but these would melt within seconds without precise current regulation. The most plausible twist comes from an unexpected source, Egypt's own medical texts. The Ebers Papyrus describes using electric catfish to numb pain, suggesting awareness of bioelectricity. Could priests have combined organic conductors like saline-soaked linen with chemical batteries to create ritual, artificial lightning? Critics highlight an even deeper inconsistency: the absence of supporting artifacts. If the Dendera light was functional technology, where are the wires, switches, or broken bulbs in archaeological records? Proponents counter that sacred technology might have been deliberately destroyed or hidden, much like alchemical secrets. The temple's location adds weight to this theory. Dendera was a center for the cult of Hathor, goddess of celestial harmony, a fitting patron for experimentation blending science and mysticism. Perhaps the boldest evidence comes from the temple's architecture itself. Deep in the crypts where the light relief was found, narrow shafts funnel outside air into the chambers, creating consistent drafts. Some researchers suggest these weren't just ventilation ducts but primitive fume hoods, dissipating ozone from electrical discharges during rituals. The crypt walls also contain traces of copper salts, a byproduct of early battery experiments or simply corrosion from ritual vessels. The line between spiritual metaphor and physical prototype blurs under scrutiny. While mainstream academia dismisses the light bulb theory, even skeptics admit the relief symbolism feels uncanny in hindsight. The Egyptians encoded advanced astronomical knowledge in myth. Might they have done the same with electrical principles? Whether the Dendera relief depicts forgotten technology or prophetic intuition, one truth remains: it casts a glow far brighter than its stone surface, illuminating how quickly we dismiss ancient minds as primitive. After all, if a Baghdad jar can power a light, why not a temple's divine spark? Off the coast of Japan's westernmost island, Yonaguni, lies an underwater enigma that looks like it was ripped straight from the pages of a lost civilization myth. Towering stone terraces, sharp right angles, and what appear to be staircases descend nearly 80 feet into the Pacific's depths, a sprawling structure so perfectly geometric that it's hard to believe nature carved it alone. Discovered by a local diver in 1986, the Yonaguni monument has been at the center of a fiery debate ever since. Is this the sunken ruins of an ancient city, swallowed by a catastrophic earthquake thousands of years ago? Or just an impossibly convincing trick of geology? The answer depends on who you ask. Geologists point to the region's volatile tectonic activity as the most likely sculptor. Yonaguni sits atop massive fault lines where seismic shifts have fractured sandstone into clean plains for millennia. They argue that the monument's steps and walls are simply the result of natural jointing, a process where rock splits along predictable lines under stress. The strong currents and erosion patterns unique to the area could have further sharpened these features, creating the illusion of human craftsmanship. Even the monument's most striking element, the so-called turtle stone with its perfect triangular carving, has a plausible natural explanation: weaker layers of rock wearing away faster than harder ones, leaving behind what looks like intentional design. Archaeologists and alternative researchers, however, aren't so quick to dismiss human involvement. They highlight features that defy natural erosion, like two round holes aligned precisely along a straight axis, holes that resemble mooring posts for ancient boats. Nearby, a massive flat platform nicknamed the Stage stretches over 150 feet, its surface unnaturally level. Then there's the most controversial find, a carved relief resembling a human face, complete with what look like eyes and a mouth. Mainstream scholars dismiss this as pareidolia, the human brain seeing faces where none exist, but divers swear the details are too deliberate to ignore. The timeline only deepens the mystery. If humans built this structure when Yonaguni was above water until at least 10,000 years ago, during the last ice age when sea levels were significantly lower. This places its potential construction in the Jomon period, a prehistoric era when Japan's hunter-gatherers were transitioning to settled life. While the Jomon are known for intricate pottery, there's no evidence they built monumental stone architecture, let alone on this scale. Could Yonaguni be a relic of an even older, unknown culture? Complicating matters are the site's eerie similarities to other submerged structures worldwide, like Cuba's underwater city or India's Gulf of Combat ruins. All share traits that blur the line between natural and artificial. Right angles, symmetrical channels, and terraces that mirror terrestrial archaeological sites. Yet, unlike those disputed locations, Yonaguni offers something rare: accessibility. Divers can swim through its corridors, touch its walls, and judge for themselves whether they're standing in a quarry, a temple, or a geological mirage. The debate may never be settled definitively. Without pottery shards, tools, or inscriptions, the monument refuses to yield its secrets. But perhaps the most compelling argument for human intervention isn't the stones themselves, but their arrangement. The entire complex aligns with magnetic north, a trait common in ancient sacred sites but unheard of in natural formations. Whether crafted by human hands or the Earth's raw power, Yonaguni stands as a haunting reminder that the ocean's depths hold stories we've barely begun to read. And the most thrilling possibility of all, this might just be the first page. Diving deeper into the shadows of Yonaguni's submerged terraces, explorers have uncovered more than just enigmatic stone formations. Scattered across the ocean floor lie fragments of terracotta pottery, their edges softened by centuries of tides, but their patterns unmistakably human. These aren't random shards, they bear the distinctive rope pattern designs of the Jomon people, a prehistoric culture that thrived in Japan from roughly 14,000 to 300 BC. The discovery sends ripples through archaeological circles, not just because it dates potential human activity near the monument to the end of the last ice age, but because it hints at a seafaring prowess far beyond what historians traditionally attribute to these ancient hunter-gatherers. Could these pottery fragments be the smoking gun linking Yonaguni to a lost maritime civilization? The Jomon are best known for their intricate cord-marked pottery, some of the oldest in the world, but their reputation as simple coastal foragers doesn't explain how their artifacts ended up nearly 100 feet underwater. Geological surveys confirm that sea levels around Yonaguni rose dramatically around 10,000 years ago, swallowing what would have been coastal settlements. If the Jomon inhabited this area, their ability to navigate and exploit marine resources must have been extraordinary. Recent excavations on nearby islands reveal fishhooks crafted from shell, weights for fishing nets, and even evidence of deep-sea fishing for tuna, a skill requiring advanced boating technology. These finds paint a picture of a culture not just living by the sea, but mastering it. The Yonaguni pottery fragments, some recovered from ledges along the monument's steps, suggest this mastery might have included ceremonial or practical use of the now submerged structure. What's truly provocative is the pottery's distribution. Unlike typical coastal debris, these shards cluster in specific areas of the monument, particularly near what some researchers call offering platforms, flat surfaces that resemble altars. Chemical analysis reveals traces of fermented residues inside intact vessels, hinting at rituals involving seafood or brewed beverages. Could Yonaguni have been a sacred site where Jaman communities gathered to conduct maritime ceremonies, leaving offerings to gods of the sea or ancestral spirits? Parallels exist in other Pacific cultures, like the Lapita people, who navigated vast distances and left behind pottery-marked ritual sites. The Jaman, with their sophisticated understanding of tides and currents, might have viewed Yonaguni as a spiritual gateway between the ocean's surface and its depths. Yet the most tantalizing question remains: how did they access it? If the monument was above water during the Jaman era, its terraces would have formed a natural amphitheater overlooking the Pacific, a prime location for communal gatherings. But if it was already partially submerged, as some seismic models suggest, we're forced to reconsider Jaman engineering. Imagine log canoes ferrying people to the structure's upper tiers during low tide, or rituals conducted on wooden platforms anchored above the waves. The pottery's presence at varying depths implies use over millennia, adapting as the sea swallowed the land inch by inch. Mainstream archaeology urges caution. Without definitive proof like tool marks on the monument's stones or a pottery shard embedded in its walls, the connection remains circumstantial. But the alternative is equally compelling, that the Jaman, or an even earlier culture, interacted with Yonaguni in ways we're only beginning to fathom. Every retrieved fragment is a message in a bottle from a world before memory, whispering that human history on these shores might run deeper and stranger than any textbook dares to suggest. So what do these 25 ancient mysteries teach us? They're not just relics or ruins, they're challenges. Each one is a crack in the official story of human history, forcing us to ask uncomfortable questions. How did civilizations without modern tools align stones with constellations we've only recently mapped with satellites? Why do carvings in temples depict technology that wouldn't exist for millennia? And most haunting of all, if these are the artifacts that survived, what unimaginable knowledge has been lost to wars, disasters, or deliberate erasure? The implications ripple far beyond archaeology. Think about the Antikythera Mechanism proof that ancient Greeks built intricate computers, or the Baghdad Battery, hinting at experiments with electricity long before Franklin's kite. These aren't mere anomalies, they suggest entire branches of science and engineering that flourished, then vanished. Even sites like Gobekli Tepe rewrite the timeline of human progress, proving that hunter-gatherers were capable of staggering architectural feats we assumed required agriculture and cities. The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes. History isn't a straight line from primitive to advanced. It's a spiral, with cultures rising to brilliance, collapsing, and leaving behind only fragments for us to piece together. But the biggest mystery isn't just what these artifacts are, it's what they mean. Were they sacred objects built to commune with cosmic forces, practical tools designed by forgotten geniuses? Or could some, like the Yonaguni Monument or Puma Punku's H-blocks, be evidence of civilizations so different from ours that we barely recognize their legacy? The truth might be even stranger. Maybe these phenomena aren't just remnants of the past, but signposts pointing toward technologies and wisdom we're only beginning to rediscover. That's why we need you in this conversation. Which of these 25 mysteries shook your worldview? Did the precision of Sacsayhuamán's walls make you question ancient engineering, or did the Voynich Manuscript's unreadable pages leave you itching for answers? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because history isn't just something we study. It's a puzzle we solve together, and this is just the beginning. From underwater cities to artifacts that defy physics, the world is packed with enigmas waiting to be uncovered. So hit subscribe, because next time we're diving into even deeper unknowns where the line between myth and reality blurs, and every discovery raises 10 new questions. The past isn't finished speaking. Are you listening?